Hello, everyone. I want to welcome you to the Create Unicorns with NFTs, DeFi, and DAOs room here in the clubhouse. I'm physically located at CES today. So if you hear a bit of a noise, I was trying to find the quietest place possible. Mariana Danilovic, I'm the founder of Infiom, which is consensus organization of business development professionals in the DeFi, NFTs, DAOs, metaverses, and related spaces in the crypto world. And today we have Jason Barkulu, who was one of our presenters at the virtual Infiom Salon. So I'll let him introduce himself.
Hey, can you hear me, Mariana?
Perfect.
Oh, super. Hi, my name is Jason Barkaloo. I'm the founder of an open science company called Open Therapeutics.
And then we have Adrian. Hello, Adrian.
Hi, I'm Adrian Ashley. I am an NFT OG. I got my first Bitcoin in 2009 and promptly lost it, so I have paid my OG dues. I got into NFTs really after colored coins in 2015. I designed my first NFT project to replace the bricks in front of a hospital for a nonprofit. That was about $1 million to implement, so we didn't. And then ERC 721 came out, and I promptly jumped into event tickets and luxury goods certifications and green energy tracking. Never once occurred to us about art or generative art or anything like that. So I spent 2017 to 2019 teaching hedge funds and family offices how to do due diligence and compliance in blockchain because they wanted to invest, but they didn't know what they were looking at. I'm very, very good at tokenomics, and I have spent the past couple of years working on how to use NFTs to create community for celebrities. So platinum selling, Grammy winning artists, how to transition all of their audience off of these social media platforms where they could be banned at a moment's notice and bring them into a private community using NFTs as a utility, token gated access, rewards program, all that. So I've been lucky enough to be on teams all around the world with the smartest people all around the world. So I have a variety of knowledge gained from other people and happy to share here.
And we love having you in the clubhouse, Adrian. Welcome. I was on a panel today at CES that was discussing big banks, versus big tech, kind of taking business away from each other. And of course, I wanted to talk about NFTs and DeFi and DAOs. And some of the people from the banking panel thought that we're still in a very early stage of the crypto development. So I just want to see what your thoughts are as the panel on that sort of a vision that some of the fintech companies have.
Well, I think that the cat's out of the bag, that they make way more money than they pay us in our savings account. So that's going to be hard to come back from as brands, to know that they're making 20 to 70% on our money and we're making 0.5%. I think DeFi is going to be able to leverage that knowledge in the mainstream consumer public and really start driving more DeFi adoption. We're going to see a lot of the banks have to play catch up and figure out what they're willing to sacrifice in order to satisfy the consumer needs and wants and expectations. But it is going to be a roller coaster for the next couple of years. But in the end, I see DeFi winning out.
And
Yeah, I have a
consumers, go ahead.
yeah, so I have a little different take on it. I totally agree with Adrian that the cat's out of the bag, but it's only out of the bag for a very small portion of the population. And the people here in this clubhouse right now are, for the most part, very forward-leaning, visionary people who are digital natives. There's some older people in here that aren't necessarily digital natives, but have figured out how to operate in this environment. The vast majority of people out there are still on slate and chalk. They're nowhere near as sophisticated as the people here. And so I think the uptake side of this equation is going to be relatively fast in one demographic, and I think that'll be the younger demographic. But I do think the people that control the capital, which are the older people, those that control the capital control how fast the wheels move in these institutions such as banking and that sort of thing. Not only do they control the capital, they control the political side of the equation. And I think we're already starting to see what's going on in the congressional side as these people are starting to get educated on the risk to the power that they control through controlling monetary distributions. So I'm of the position here that this is actually going to divide our society into two groups, as opposed to the haves and the have-nots. It's going to divide it into those that are forward-leaning and visionary and younger against those that are just the opposite. That's kind of where my take is.
And if you think about the clubhouse, and everything that's happened in the clubhouse this year, uh, I think the clubhouse is leaning towards educating people in the way that they can actually manage their money better and think about this whole fintech space without the stigma of not being able to understand it. I mean, for years and years and years, the financial services products have gotten more and more and more complicated, and people have a tougher time understanding what are they actually purchasing, what's the fine print, what they can or cannot do with an insurance policy, with a loan, etc. We're here in the DeFi space, and a lot of the discussions that I've listened to in the clubhouse last year, there are people like Terry and Chris and everyone and Adrian and everyone explaining the basics to people so that they can actually think about investing their money, think about improving their life situation, think about working in this new environment. And I believe that there will be two groups, one that's educating itself with these resources that are made available in the clubhouse, and they can be globally located. It's not just the US jurisdiction at this point. And there will be a group that's just really not going to understand what happened, kind of a thing.
I think we have an opportunity to educate the general population right now. So one of the things, just having the word DeFi in the media is getting attention from consumers, and they're like, what's that? What's that? So that's building curiosity. And we need to build on that and really put a lot more education up front, because not all DeFi is the same, right? They have to learn how to analyze a project, whereas if they just go in the bank, they just believe their banker, right? And so the banks may start adopting some of these DeFi protocols or making their own with higher rewards and bringing people into their ecosystem that way. But I think if we can educate the masses and say, look, there are things that you can do, if you want to earn more than 0.5%, you can stake on something like Celsius, which is bulletproof. I know the founder, the team's great, and you're going to make 4 to 8%, which is huge more returns than they're getting at the bank. And it's still very, very low. Or you can increase your risk and stake something on something else. But you have to teach them all of these protocols. I almost feel like we need to send everybody back to school and have like public education for consumers. And if we can do that and pull that off, then I think we are going to level the playing field, and it's going to be much harder to really cash grab out of the mainstream population.
And to a large extent, I think you and Chris and Terry and other people in the clubhouse that I've listened to over this last year, you are doing this free education. It's in the clubhouse. It's readily available almost 24/7. You guys are teaching people how to mint NFTs. You're teaching them how to collect NFTs. You're teaching them about what to look for. You're teaching them about setting up a MetaMask wallet. These are things the general population doesn't have access to unless they kind of listen in to what's going on. And I believe that you know great job, Andreessen Horowitz, for investing in the Clubhouse app. It's like the voice of fintech in some ways that's developed here on the Clubhouse. And I feel that that is a huge, huge building of the ecosystem in kind of teaching public at large how to participate in the way of getting sort of to the next level. I think this is critical.
It definitely is. And what's interesting is when I got on, there were only 3,000 people on the app when I got on. And I have some pretty big baller friends. I looked and it added all the friends. 798 people who were on the app before I got on were in my contact list. They were my friends. And so I just started going through, and then I'd add their friends and their friends and their friends. And what was really interesting was early on, I mean, it was not unreasonable to get into a room full of ridiculously amazing people. And thankfully, a lot of them are still here and running rooms. but the rooms were so educational, and I feel like it's harder to cut through, the Geraldo type rooms now, but the education is still here. You just have to join the right clubs, like Infiom.
Thanks for that. Um, so today we were discussing two new projects. Jason is launching Open Therapeutics and a science coin, and I'll let him just tell you a little bit about it. And then Chris is he's launched the crypto art agency, and I'll let him tell you a little bit about that as well. So Jason, you want to tell us a little bit about Open Therapeutics?
Right. So thanks, Mariana. Open therapeutics is a very, very simple proposition. I love simplicity. Researchers around the world have a couple of problems. One is the biggest one is funding, the lack thereof. But the second big problem they have is they're not seen. And as a result of that, they don't get opportunities that could lead to funding. So there's a little vicious circle that occurs for them. Open Therapeutics has the mission of getting those researchers all together into the world's largest think tank and giving them some value for all of the work that they do. And at the same time, giving them value gives them a chance to be seen. So it's kind of a little GitHub model. Instead of for open source software, it's kind of a GitHub for open science. So the science coins are exactly what they are, a token that captures the value of what the researchers are doing and provides value back to them in a non-exploitational way. So instead of us jamming ads down their throats, or instead of exploiting them by taking their data and their email addresses and monetizing that, rather, what we do is we make money from the recruiters out there who are trying to get their fingers on these really, really highly educated people around the world. And so we're actually paid by the people that are going to be making value for those people through their actions.
And we discussed it a little bit at the salon, but this is in some ways maybe shifting the way that scientists get paid.
Yeah, but it changes the paradigm not only in the way they get paid financially, but it also changes the way they get paid in the value of their knowledge. And currently, the value of research knowledge is not memorialized in bills, dollar bills. It's rather done in the value of their publications. There's only a few places where things like money matter as much as it does in science to conduct science. But the researchers themselves, most of them go into science not for the economics of it, obviously, but they go into it to proliferate knowledge or assist in the movement of knowledge out there. So all of a sudden, you could step back and think about, wow, how can we make the knowledge valuable beyond just the publication side of the equation? And the nice thing about the blockchain environment is that things like NFTs and other things that we haven't even dreamed up yet, but there are going to be other instruments that are going to come along that the research community is going to be able to use instead of just getting financial reward and not just getting a publication award, but other types of awards that they'll get for enhancing the human condition.
That's really awesome. And Chris, you launched the crypto art agency, and tell us a little bit how that may be shifting the film and television business.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, the crypto art agency is kind of a sprang up about 2 months ago last year to kind of represent the sci-fi art anthology collection because we thought it should have a company that represented, and then also we were being approached by other collections of art, maybe representing them in the NFT market. So that's why we started it. But of course, our main client is the sci-fi art anthology, and we established a lot of relationships with a lot of the major uh, people out there in the NFT market. We just did our first auction back in December, and we did that with Wax, and it went really well. The starting bid, it was a 10-day auction. It was a illustration from an H.G. Wells short story called Days to Come, and we put it out there, and it started at 3,000, and it ended up going for 7,548. So we were really happy. Wax said it was one of their biggest ones. We're looking at doing some more and everything, so we're very happy about that. And I think one of the reasons too is that we kind of positioned it because it is collectible art, and we said, well, maybe we should include a piece of collectible art. So the person that won is also going to be getting a canvas print for them. So we're excited about that. But it went really well. And we're talking now with Known Origin about doing a campaign with them. I think we're talking to Rarible too. But Wax and Known Origin we're doing right now, planning campaigns for this year. So we're really excited. And then also the Crypto Art Agency is talking to some other collections. Because the main thing we're going after is there's so many artists out there in the NFT market, but nobody's representing the collections out there, which there are numerous ones that are private collections, public collections. There's collections of different items, different types of art. There's popular, there's entertainment, there's sci-fi. And so we're kind of positioning ourselves in that domain because we believe that the future of the NFTs is going to be art that has history, that has significance, that people can look at and show to their friends and say, yes, this is, like this one. This is an illustration from a short story by H.G. Wells from 1929. And we think that makes it not only more collectible, but more exciting and more fun.
I have an idea for you that I gave in a room the other day, but since you already have an agency, so you're basically functioning like the creative artist agency for the art, like creative artist agency does for the actors, directors, and cinematographers. So you have a lot of these generative art projects. This is totally probably not where you wanted to go, but I think this would be a huge revenue maker for you. Is like everyone who owns a Bored Ape, they have the commercial rights for that Bored Ape. And if you had a way to do all of the licensing agreements and sponsorships and like having that Bored Ape do a Coca-Cola commercial, those kinds of things, nobody is doing that, and an agency does need to do that, and that would certainly generate at least 100 pieces of media for you.
Adrian, thank you. Yeah, you're exactly right, and that is kind of what we're set up for. Not directly because we're set up to take in collections, but you're right. If we put together 100 of them, that would be considered a collection. And you're right. We could exploit it in those areas very easily.
Well, it's literally like what you've been doing because we've had a conversation offline about the collections and how you license them, and you literally already have the entire infrastructure to do these licensing and partnership deals. You've been doing it for art. You can now literally do it for PFPs, and it's the exact same business model that you've already been doing, except nobody's doing it right now. And I know a lot of people who own apes and punks and everything else. And what's interesting, or what I found interesting, is that you're seeing some big brands look at purchasing these because they have the commercial rights associated with them and then turning them into their brand mascot. So why not do a licensing deal? And then you're already set up. You have all the paperwork. You already know how to do all of that from start to finish. And these other agencies are going to be scrambling to try and catch up. So I would stake your flag in the ground on that one and say, we are the metaverse, the whole Web3 agency for commercial exploitation of PFPs.
Yeah, no, you're right, and that's very valid. In fact, the whole sci-fi art anthology started off. I mean, it's with Getty Images. It's been in magazines. It was ringtones, wallpapers. That's what we originally did, and that was more along the lines of, I think, what you're talking about, traditional licensing.
Exactly. Nobody's doing that for the PFPs, and because each individual owner has the rights to commercially exploit those, a huge Forbes story would be art agency opens a division for PFP owners to make money on their PFPs with licensing and sponsorship and partnership deals.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you.
I love it. I mean, Adrian, you have new ideas about launching businesses. As the market develops, you have another great idea. You're like a source of all ideas when it comes to NFTs, and that's a really brilliant one because you're treating now these PFPs as art, and you're helping people who are just owners of them kind of profit from their art. I love it.
Right, and you're talking about like early minters minted for practically nothing, right? So now they have these pieces that are worth two, three, four, five, $600,000. Well, they're only being told that they can stake them and earn yield on them and things like that. But nobody is talking to them and educating them. And we could actually do a joint partnership and run a class on what to do with your NFT in the real world, right? And
Totally.
how to use it. And that would be like, oh my goodness. I mean, seriously, nobody's thinking about this. And I'm like, has nobody read the contract?
Well,
Do you
nobody has
realize
probably.
nobody has read the contract? Do you have any idea the rights that are? I mean, and yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And we have a couple of zombies in the room here. We've got Mayor and Batoshi. I'm the co-founder of the Billionaire Zombies Club. We've got 10,000 zombies and 600, 700 and something kings. Like we have a lot that would probably absolutely love to do commercials or to do a car commercial or do a Coke commercial or something like that. So you've got a huge opportunity, and I have all the access to all the people. So I'm happy to do that with you,
Well, we're
or
gonna
just
do an
or just hand them
agency.
over.
We're gonna do an agency with you and Infiom.
Awesome.
Hi, Bill. You have a question?
Well, I did. I couldn't hear you very well, and as soon as I became a speaker, the volume increased dramatically. So that helped a lot. And I've been wrapping NFTs around my music since I found out about it last January with the whole explosion on Clubhouse. And I learned how to do it because of Clubhouse. And I'm now studying smart contracts and how to either create them or use a template to further the use of them. And I cannot imagine a better use than in the entertainment industry to put a contract for a particular artist on an NFT. Unbelievable. Great idea.
And you can actually do licensing if you do commercial type music where they're using it in commercials and things like that.
Awesome.
There's
Awesome. Yeah.
there's
Everything.
actually a platform that'll help you do it, but you could write the smart contract yourself. It's just through a mint protocol where they mint their license. And
Exactly.
and they basically have a license for whatever. They just check all the boxes. I want this, and this. And then they
Right.
press the little button and they say mint and then they pay you, and it's almost like BMI and a mechanical license.
Awesome. And my question to you then, now that we're on this level of thought about it. Do you know? I mean, I found a couple of template oriented places like Hello, and if there's another template oriented place where I can just punch out a smart contract and just change the variables as I need to. I mean, I can write a little bit of code, and I can read it, but I'm not really a big developer. And when I saw the development curve, learning curve, I kind of went, "Ooh, that's not for me. I can't do that yet."
Well, you
Uh,
might be able to. Have you taken a Udemy class on Solidity? It's really not that hard.
no, I saw that, and Udemy. I actually, you're ahead of. I mean, we're together. I mean, I actually took Udemy,
Good.
and the other one was Coursera. Is that?
Yep.
Yeah,
Coursera. And then
yeah.
and then there are a couple of guys that teach. I'm blanking on the names right now, but they have like just crazy killer YouTube classes that are
Oh,
they're free and they're just awesome. And I've actually learned how to code quite a few things. That was literally how I learned to code Solidity back in
okay,
2017 was on
okay,
YouTube.
great.
So
Well,
it and Ethereum also has a whole training course. The
yeah,
Ethereum.org has a whole
yeah,
training course too.
great. I'm following you, so if you remember the people, um, you're welcome to DM me on the backside here anytime.
Sure. But if you don't want to do that and you just want to go, I think it's called Index.
I lost you.
No, that's data exchange. I will find the I will find the project, but my friend is actually the CTO of, oh goodness, he's gone, but I'll do it for the recording. He's the CTO of a music licensing company where independent artists can go and put their stuff up, and people can do exactly what I said. They just choose what license type they want, they mint their NFT, they have their license, and they go.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about the 2022, right? Our predictions for 2022. It is a new year. This is our first Create Unicorns with NFTs, DeFi, and DAOs session for the year. Um, I predict that every industry segment in 2022 is going to be affected by NFTs because they're fundamentally shifting the relationship with the consumer. The consumer becomes a member and or participant in your business, in your economy, and the NFTs provide that opportunity. What are you guys seeing as some fundamental things that will be happening in the DeFi, DAOs, NFTs, metaverse spaces in 2022?
Oh, 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 the SEC is going to actually indict a fuck ton of people. Pardon my language, I'm so sorry, but they really are. Every single cash grab, pump and dump project was technically a security. Any project that did not include utility, anybody illegally without registering, fractionalizing NFTs, they're all going to get slapped with notices, inquiries, or indictments. It is going to be crazy business, which is why I always say lawyer, lawyer, lawyer. Everybody should have a lawyer on their team because you do not want to misstep. NFTs are more than just JPEGs with a serial number. You really need to create utility. You would need to launch them right. You need your structure correct. And I see a lot of slaps in the future. And I agree with you. Everything is going to be driven towards that ownership of whatever that asset is. NFTs are going to be incorporated into the most mundane businesses that you could ever think of, and for the utility of it, not the collectability of it. And I think that's going to be fascinating. We're also going to see a ton of cross-chain compatibility, not just Chainlink being able to pull in third-party data, verified third-party data from the outside world and incorporate it into the NFT. We're also going to see things where you've got projects that are living on Polygon, Binance, and Solana at the same time. It's going to be freaking amazing.
So the cross-chain compatibility has to be driven sort of in 2022 because we will not be able to scale these businesses without that cross-chain compatibility.
And that's what Solana is doing. And I wish that Bitcoin is King was still here because he actually turned me into a believer. I was not a Solana fan until I heard him preach. And then I asked him all the hard questions. And you know me, I don't pull punches. Holy mackerel. So I'm quite excited. I'm actually probably launching our Crypto Vixens project called Foxies, which is our generative art project that goes to a breeding engine and then kicks off scholarships for women or girls in either blockchain education or entrepreneurship. And we're probably doing that on Solana after I talked to Chris. I was going to do it on Polygon. I was literally almost ready to push the buttons. And he's like, wait. So lots of fun stuff. And I do see Solana like getting better and not crashing like it did 4 times this year.
Yeah, and I think Algorand's done a lot of improvement to the network, so they're one of the top enterprise competitors in the space at the moment. I see some other protocols, some other layer twos now coming into focus, building these interoperability bridges. But a lot of the projects are still being launched on the Binance chain, especially non-US based projects. Do you guys foresee that still happening, especially in the play to earn spaces?
It's just so easy to launch on Binance. I mean, there's a video, and I actually did it just for giggles. You know, how to launch a shitcoin in 10 minutes or less. It took me 2, and that included putting it on PancakeSwap and providing liquidity, and boom, it's available for sale. Like, I mean, it's crazy. So I think that the problem and the benefit of Binance: 1, anybody can launch anything. 2, it runs off of Solidity scripts, which means that everybody who has ever done anything in Solidity, all those contracts are available on an MIT open source license on GitHub. You can literally go look at it and clone a project, boom, instantly. And all you have to do is set your MetaMask to Binance, or do it on Polygon too, but on Binance, hit compile and hit deploy, and boom, you're done and you're up and running. So the ease of execution on Binance, I think, is great, but it also means that you have a lot of scammers. So they're going to have some cleanup to do.
And the thing that really is interesting is that all the play to earn games, that are launching on PancakeSwap, basically, and launching their token even before the game is launched. Do you foresee any sort of regulatory problems? I think most of them are non-US based, but do you foresee any regulatory problems there?
Oh, absolutely. If your product is not up and ready to go and the token is not immediately useful, that's a security. So there has to be a method for people to spend it and a reason for people to hold it in the first place. So you have to be really careful. And even if it's not a US based company, if you are an influencer in the United States and you are promoting it, poor Floyd Mayweather has gotten smacked with that twice. It's like, come on, you cannot be promoting an illegal security. So even if the security is not based in the United States and you're telling people to buy it and Americans buy it, and that's a problem. Even if it's not a scam, even if it does exactly have utility in 6 months, they still may say give all the money back. I mean, if you look at Munchie, 2017 SEC, every single person launching a token should read this SEC opinion and this case. Munchie was a fully functional platform. Their utility was absolutely 100% useful. The token was useful immediately, but the way that they marketed it, where they said, put your money in, you're going to make money, they talked their way into being a security. So more than just launching a token with the vision of down the roadmap launching a utility for it, that's automatically a security. But it could be a utility and be useful now and still end up being a security based on the way you're marketing, which is why I say lawyer, lawyer, lawyer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
lots to go ahead.
I think Adrian's onto something here, because in my prediction, I think that we're going to get even more regulatory clarity, but I'm also fearful that we're going to see over the next 12 months this significant outreach by Congress to further tighten the reins on what we can do in the crypto world. I think we're going to start to even see them looking at how they're going to lock down NFTs and looking at copyright laws and changing laws, or at least trying to make movements to change laws that aren't going to benefit the growth of the industry. And I think we're going to see some real significant friction there. And I think we're going to start to see the Facebooks and the Reddits of the world starting to move back toward this environment. And that's going to add even more confusion and more fear to the political class. And the last part of that is they've figured out that this is taxable stuff. And this is going to create an internal dynamic between what should happen on the regulation side in the best interest of the consumer or the investor, what's in the best interest of the industry, and what's in the best interest of the federal coffers. And I think that dynamic is going to be a real exciting thing to see this year and next year as well.
Oh, the financial coffers, don't get me started. $600, everything over $600 that goes through a regulated account where your KYC is now going to be reported, and people are like, that's going to all be taxable. I go, well, no, if your friend just paid you for half a dinner and it was, $2,000 dinner, that's not a taxable event. It just means you're going to have to keep better track of everything and be able to explain where everything came from and that it wasn't income. But that's going to create a lot of paperwork, and I just see it as a big cluster, like not in a good way. In terms of regulatory clarity, oh my God, please, please, soon, because once we know what the framework is, once we know where the boundaries are, we can innovate inside that completely compliantly and do amazing, fabulous things. Right now, there's so much hesitancy in the ideas of creating these new things because there's no line. We don't know when we're crossing the line. We can just do our best efforts. So that was one of the things that I heard in another room. I think it was Mitch who said it. He basically said, as long as your intentions were good, they were pure, you're documented, you're corporate compliance, please do your meeting minutes, please do your shareholder meeting stuff, like do everything correctly, run it like a real business, and do everything with the best of intentions and full integrity and honestly, and you will, even if you do accidentally step out of the lines, it will turn out much better. but don't stop innovating.
May I say something just real quick?
Yes, John. Hi.
Hi, I got in here by total accident. Just clicked on the right room, and I just wanted to say thank y'all. Y'all are bringing so much value, especially on the legal side. I'm wanting to start my own project here in the future, and y'all are just bringing value to things that I wasn't even thinking about in the future of the legality of this space. So I just wanted to say I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. And
Thanks.
lawyer, 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 lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. I just play one on TV sometimes.
Well, John, thanks for that. And, interestingly enough, I did have someone who spent quite a bit of time in Washington, on worked for the White House, couple of different White Houses, I think, and is now with Deloitte in the sort of the regulated sector of the space. And he shared with me last night as we were preparing for the panel for CES that he would go into these discussions about fintech where he would ask the regulators to actually meet with the companies and with the management teams and try to figure out what is going on with fintech, what are the developments, and how should they be best regulated. And obviously that's not something that always happens on the regulatory side, and it's something that I hope happens with DeFi and with NFTs and with all of these different things we're developing here as entrepreneurs, because that's the only way to ensure that we keep growing the ecosystem and not sort of stifling it at every corner. So I think that was one of the best recommendations I've ever heard about the way that regulation could be actually developed.
Well, I've tried to get no action letters from the SEC. It's about $250,000. The big, big, expensive law firms who focus on these things, they have connections directly into the SEC. For those of us bootstrapped entrepreneurs, here's my best advice that will save you tens of thousands of dollars. Look at every single crypto conference. When there is an SEC person speaking, go to that conference. Go meet that person, make nice with that person. They will give you their card. That is your backdoor in. You may not be able to get no action letter because that does cost a lot, and it's a lot of legal back and forth, but you're going to be able to build a rapport and a relationship with somebody inside the SEC. And I recommend, if there is ever anybody on the SEC, you can literally set a Google alert, and you set it for quote unquote SEC, and then quote crypto conference or blockchain conference or NFT conference, and you can set up all these alerts for free, and it will literally go through and spider Google, and whenever there is a new conference that's announced, you can go look at it and check out the speakers, and if there is a real SEC person speaking, I would go.
It's interesting you say that, Adrian. Uh, Mariana can attest to this. We were the first to file right alongside Gab a few years ago, the very first security token offering through a Regulation A. And we literally spent $400,000 in one full year getting to a letter with 52 questions back from the SEC on issues related to the Reg A STO. And for regular Reg A, for a normal Reg A, you could expect a lot more questions than that. So yes, we spent a lot of money, we spent a lot of time, we only got 52 questions, and we still didn't move forward with the STO because the environment is still opaque and unclear, and it really hasn't changed from when we put the skids on actually moving that Regulation A out to listing. So I think you're right on there, Adrian. For us, working so closely with the SEC took it from being a real daunting task with potential liability and fear of all that to actually having a very good personal interaction with those guys. And they were really hungry to learn. And, nothing like spending $400,000 to teach a regulatory body, but nonetheless, uh, we changed the dynamics of that interaction. So I couldn't agree with you more on that, Adrian.
Yeah, it's legal advice, competent legal advice too. Because let me say, people who are out there who are personal injury lawyers are seeing that the crypto space is like hot, and they're now crypto lawyers. Those are not crypto lawyers. So vet your attorneys. Make sure you got people like Jason that you talk to, because it is a lot of work. There are easy missteps. I have literally read some legal opinions from attorneys on projects because I was literally working with hedge funds and family offices, so they were including these letters in their due diligence packets. And I'm reading this and I'm looking at the project and I'm like, how did you come to this conclusion? This is absolutely not okay. And it's because they just didn't understand. So the project got a lawyer out there, probably handed them a legal opinion and said, put your name on it. So you have to be really careful. The right legal counsel is priceless.
And also just thinking through the business model. I was there when, Jason was filing his STO, and we actually worked on several STOs at the time. This was beginning of 2018. And we thought that Reg A Plus would actually help us with, and Reg CF, which is now 5 million, minimum in the US, and uh, similarly in some other jurisdictions around the globe, that would allow us to create this security token markets that would be regulated sooner rather than later. But the markets went in a completely different direction. The utility token markets have proliferated since then and continue to strengthen and grow globally. And the regulated version of these, the security token offerings, did not happen. There are no secondary markets. There was no movement on the regulatory side to kind of help that along. And the trade did not move it along either, the and entrepreneurs. So I think I'm looking at Jason and what he's doing now with the science coin and how he's going about putting it out into the market. He's following everything that Adrian's talking about in terms of making sure there's utility and that scientists are using it first, et cetera, et cetera. It is the long way, the long road to complying with everything. But at the end of the day, if you're building a unicorn or you want to build a next generation company, take the long road. It's better than taking the short road, doing having a rug pulled from under your project by the people that you partnered with, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm with you on that.
I think the STO side of this, and good God, if I ever dream about a Reg A STO again, I hope I don't wake up. That nightmare was just literally a nightmare. And I think this is a great example of the regulators single-handedly killing an industry. I think this had so much promise that the market opportunity there was so gargantuan that anybody today, we're talking NFTs, I think STOs would have been on a multiple magnitudes of orders bigger, but they single-handedly just destroyed it. And those of us in the entrepreneurial world that put a lot of time, effort, money, blood, sweat, tears, and most importantly, my very valuable time, to see that get flushed down the toilet just reinforced to me. And I don't mean to go into the libertarian thing that a lot of these people in crypto world have, but it really feeds into that narrative of the government not just not being helpful, literally being hostile to the entire technology movement.
And yet you're building a business that is more real than real. I mean, you're building a scientific platform for open science in the middle of a pandemic. So how much more real can this business get?
Yeah, right. I mean, I just finished talking to a significant investor, and he said to me, "Well, I imagine that there would be people that would build unicorns off of this bad side of the equation. I just hadn't recognized that it could be like this."
It's fascinating because you guys really have been through the long, winding road on the way to launching, within days now. And I'm just grateful that you had foreseen it and stuck with it, because we all need the open scientific platform for every country, for every jurisdiction, and for every human on the planet. As proven by an uptake in COVID and CES being, maybe a quarter of what it was, 2 years ago. And people should have been here today in Las Vegas, learning about new technologies, engaging with them, in a free manner, and not worrying about getting yet another uptake in in this pandemic. So I feel that what you guys are building is definitely necessary at the moment.
You know, what's really interesting about that, Mariana, your perspective on it is it's an unusual perspective. Uh, the science world isn't sexy, right? It's not sexy until somebody starts talking about a new blood test that's going to revolutionize the world. And as a result of that, science is a very long slog, unsexy endeavor. And so people talk about DeFi, and DeFi is this, DeFi is that. And I kind of scratch my head and look back and think to myself, well, these very fundamental things, human health, animal health, plant health, global environmental health, all of these things are based on a science foundation, and yet it gets none of the unicorn attention.
We lost you again for some reason.
Yeah, am I there?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm always disheartened when I see science-based companies get pushed aside because a DeFi company is more sexy, has a better story, whereas the science company, just doesn't have that same sex appeal to it. And so the unicorn opportunity doesn't pop until like something that we're going through now with COVID-19. All of a sudden, my company is worth a stupid amount of money, whereas 24 months ago, it was a pittance of that. It's just amazing how a company like mine can be in the right place at the right time for the wrong reasons.
Well, and all of DeFi and all of NFTs and metaverses and open science have actually benefited from the pandemic. Unfortunately, that we had to go through a pandemic, but it did kind of speed up the adoption for all of these very necessary, I would say, technological movements.
Agreed.
So in terms of DeFi, and I love open science. So I've been with Jason for a very long time as an advisor, and just love the idea of what he's doing, and how this will be a legacy. I would feel work for all of us involved, all of his investors, all of his team members and advisors. So thank you for doing that, Jason, for all of us.
I have an idea for him. Can I give it?
Yes, of course. That's why we love you. You're our idea generator.
Okay. So, yeah, I used to be the chief idea bunny. There's a very long story behind that. But anyway, so here's my idea. So, open science, I am a huge proponent of crowd-funded solutions, right? Like one of my biggest pet peeves is the water in Flint, Michigan is still not fixed, right? Like there are a lot of things that make people absolutely crazy that they would pay to find a solution. So if you happen to have all of the scientists and the researchers, if there was a way, maybe through a DAO governance and a token with a granting program or protocol or whatever, for everyday people to contribute the liquidity in order to get solutions to things that make them batshit, I bet they would. I mean, there are a lot of projects that aren't getting funded that would, and yet we're paying. Heck, I don't even remember what it was. I saw a meme on it, so no guarantees that it's real, but I'm pretty sure it is. And it was something about you know tree frog mating or something, and what makes them more horny. And we literally spent $750,000 as the government to fund this. Like, I don't care about that. What about the water in Flint, Michigan? Like, I have much more pressing concerns, right? How do we get
So,
insulin prices down? Those kinds of things. Like, would they
yeah,
be up
so
for that?
Yeah, so, Adrian, we're actually going down a little bit of a hole here of an entire infrastructure that, we've out architectured in the background, and grand challenges and utilizing DAOs for grand challenges is a really deep part of the entire infrastructure of the architecture of what this science means, just creating knowledge for the sake of knowledge has to also have an application level to it, what we call applied science. And so, how do you get from the theoretical knowledge level to the applied science level? Is you have to have some sort of generator that makes that happen. and generally financial or publications are the push-pull that make that happen. But there's an entire underlying architecture of the way the entire scientific methodology and distribution of information work, and how we can actually modify that. That all said, I don't want to get into all of that because it just brings on too much complexity, and where your mind is already pretty far downstream relative to the simplicity of the top level. So what I'm saying is you're absolutely right. Grand challenges are there, utilizing a way to utilize funds to get that there, and letting the global community determine what the values are and how those are valuable.
So is that a yes, but not yet?
It is exactly a yes, but not yet.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, because I have lots of proposals for you. And I'm happy to market you however you need. I will absolutely amplify your project because I think it's brilliant.
Love,
Yeah,
love,
thank you.
love it. Sounds great. So in terms of predictions for 2022, we're almost out of time, but I do want to mention one. I read one of the predictions that in our newsletter that said that almost the whole world will be tokenized in one way or another, and that companies need to get prepared not just to manage their shares, but also to manage these tokenized presences that they have. And I believe that this will stem. I agree with that prediction somewhat. And I think it will stem from the fact that once a consumer feels that they're participating in the economy of that company, it's very hard to pull them away and have them then buy products and services from someone else who is not allowing them to participate in their economy. I believe that economy participation, whether it's through token holding or NFTs or whatever the mean is of the company, aggregating users in this way, is going to be something that's going to happen in 2022 quite a bit. Okay. And then one more thought I'd like to get out for 2022 is this is the security of the DeFi protocols. And I think Paul Berdati from Pantera Capital kind of put that as one of his things that would need to be addressed in 2022. And I agree with him. There are way too many rug pulls, way too many hacks on the DeFi protocols this year. And even though, as Adrian was pointing out, some of these things can be launched very quickly on some of these layer ones or layer twos, on some of these dexes, one has to really think through the security of that particular project as they're launching, because even though they may not be in a regulated jurisdiction, they are actually providing a promise to their consumers, to people who are going to be on their protocol, that this will be a safe and secure environment. And that's it for my predictions. Any other predictions from you guys for 2022?
Today is a great day to buy crypto. That's my prediction.
Why is the market down?
Getting crushed.
Oh yeah, it's Black Friday. It's literally been Black Friday, but yeah, okay. Not investment advice, but I am going to give you my little spiel on how you determine your own investment rules. And please don't break them, because I broke mine the other day and I lost $1,500, not double checking that I was on an actual website. And instead of minting an NFT, I just randomly sent money to a bunch of scammers that have already pulled $1.1 million in like a week. So, investment advice: you're in Vegas, you've had a great weekend, a fabulous time, you've checked out, you've got your bags, you're headed to the Uber, you pass the crap table, you're going to make one more bet. What's that number? Win or lose, you still had a great time. Whatever that number is for you, that's your number. When you're experimenting, when you're learning new things, when you're figuring out something, when you're testing things, that's your number. Don't exceed it. And make sure that you understand what your investment principles are, which is, why are you investing in this? What is it for? Are you a hodler or a day trader? Like, know what those things are and then stick to that. And even though there's a timer clicking down that says you have only a few more minutes, or a few more seconds to mint another spooky boy, don't press the damn button without doing the due diligence. I'm off my pulpit.
So learn about the market, learn about the projects, learn about the people. Try to meet the actual people involved in these projects. We've been blessed, Adrian and I've been in the space for a very long time. We got to actually personally meet a lot of the people that we work with. And make sure that you're sort of assessing this with some sort of a strict due diligence set of rules for your own for your own level of comfort of being involved with projects and or being in essence investing in them as you participate in NFTs and tokens. Anybody else wants to give us a little bit more about their predictions for 2022? Any other interesting things we should worry about? We have a lot of raised hands. Let's see. Going to take one more presenter. Michael, you have any predictions for 2022?
Well, I believe the luxury market is going to take off as applications increase further and further. And there was a recent, I'm building it based on my conclusions from the Coinbase article or from the Cointelegraph article that was about 3 weeks ago, about how as more and more higher net worth individuals expand onto the metaverse, they're going to want luxury items and such. I predict it's going to increase 5x.
Wow, that's awesome. Mayor, you have any predictions?
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback. Hey, thanks for bringing me up. I wanted to piggyback on what you were talking about on tokenizing everything. So where I live in like an upscale area in Southern California, and I'm really in the crypto space, and recently got into NFTs. But my neighbor, he's an old retired doctor. He does investments now, and he came over and asked me the other day, just recently. He's like, "Why would I want to own a piece of Michael Jordan's shoe?" So it goes into it's tokenomics. So it's called GTE, Global Token Exchange, and we're going to tokenize everything. So you can own a piece of everything. And if that ties into what you were talking about, everything will be tokenized. It'll all be digital. The banks will have to conform to that. Everything will conform to that. If you want to know what predictions are, that's what's going to happen. Because the monetary system's collapsing.
Good for you.
So,
I hope to see that happen, and please keep me abreast of the developments.
Yes, Mayor is my partner in crime in Billionaire Zombies Club. He is a fabulous, fabulous human and ridiculously smart at trading in crypto.
Awesome. We love that. DeMarco, you have a prediction for 2020?
I was honestly just raising my hand to bring up the mayor. So I was going to ask you to bring him up.
Okay, so we got Adrian, DeMarco, and Mayor all working on tokenizing the world next year.
Yes, and Billionaire Zombies Club.
And building a DAO.
Yeah, we launched our King's Council on Monday. We transitioned fully to the DAO on Monday, so Mama's been busy. I'm the zombie mama.
No
It'll be
kidding.
a fun project to build. Watch.
Yeah, I love the fact that you guys are doing that. I think it's very interesting what's happened with tokenization already. It's way beyond my wildest predictions, even a couple of years ago. But I'm loving it. I think it's just the greatest opportunity that we all have is to digitize the world that we live in, the hybrid world. And with that, I think we ran out of time again. I would love to continue this. I think we did 1 2-hour session at the end of last year, but we really tried to stay within 1 hour. So we will see you next time, next Tuesday at 10 a.m. We're doing Ask Us Anything about NFT, DeFis, and DAOs session here at the Clubhouse, following by the next Wednesday, Create Unicorns with NFTs, DeFi, and DAOs. If you want to sign up for a newsletter, the site is Infiom, and if you're here at CES, we're meeting at Vice Versa Patio and Lounge at Vidara Casino tonight at 6:30 p.m. So you can come say hello and grab a drink with us. So thank you, Adrian, Chris, Jason, and thank you, Michael, Mayer, and DeMarco for coming up and for sharing with us what's going to happen in 2022.
Thank you,
Right on.
Mariana.
Thanks so much for your time. Have a good night. Have fun
Ciao.
in Vegas.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you guys next
Thank you.
week.
Bye.
Bye.